Cool. Okay, I'm going to start kicking things off. I'm sure some people might join during, but let's get started. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Lucille, and I'm part of the marketing team at Stitch. And I'm definitely not the one who's going to be answering your questions, but just to kind of kick things off and just tell you how things are going to work. So there's the Q&A function that you should see at the bottom of your screen. So you're more than welcome to use that to ask any questions. And otherwise, if you would like to talk, you're also welcome to raise your hand. But I'm gonna hand over to our technical integration specialists. So we've got Priyan, we've got Lebo and Toby, and Lebs, you can kick us off and introduce yourself, please.
There we go. I was muted. The first rookie mistake. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Lucille, for the intro. Everyone, I'm Lebo. I'm part of the technical integration and support operations team here at Stitch. And what I do is assist our clients integrate our product, integrate into the API, as well as assist with general sort of support queries that come up. So you guys would have seen me in the community channel quite a bit. I want to hand over to Priyan for a quick intro.
Cool. Thanks, Lebs. Yeah. Hey, everyone. So I'm Priyan, one of the co-founders at Stitch. So been here for a long time, I call it ever. And yeah, so I currently head up our client solutions division. So working with our clients to onboard, start building with Stitch, solutioning, actually work like with certain clients in a bespoke manner in architecting their systems, addressing any problems, getting them live, monitoring them, as well as building bespoke systems on behalf of clients in certain circumstances. So yeah, really keen to hear and answer your questions. Cool. Over to Toby.
Hi, everyone. I'm Toby. I currently work on with the business development team at Stitch. Day to day, I basically just think about how to help clients use our APIs to solve problems that they're facing. I'm happy to be here to chat to everyone. Lou, please take it away.
Me? No, I think we've got one question so far. So Lebo, I'm going to let you kick off with that. And yeah, I just put a reminder in there in the chat for how we can sort of run the session. And I guess just to give you a little bit of background, obviously, Stitch is a really developer first company, and we want to be as kind of transparent and have a really open, engaging relationship with the devs that are integrating with Stitch. So this is your opportunity to ask any integration questions that you might have, and hopefully also just learn from you know, some of your peers in the group as well. So yeah, this is an open forum, and hopefully you enjoy. Lebo, you want to kick us off with that first question?
Yeah, sure. So we have a question from Jason Suthin. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Jason. And the question is, hello there, this is Jason from Highball, South Africa. A new e-commerce store. Congrats, it sounds exciting. I'm going to check it out. Is it possible to do monthly debit orders using Stitch? I want to implement a subscription-based model for payments. I think Priyan, you're actually probably best positioned to answer any questions related to debit orders. Priyan, are you there? Looks like your connection may have.
I just got load shedded, sorry. So I should be back.
Okay, you're back. Did you hear the question?
No, please, if you could just give it.
Okay, cool. It's from Jason from Highball, South Africa. He wanted to know if it's possible to do monthly debit orders using Stitch. He'd like to implement a subscription-based model for payments.
Awesome. Cool. Hey, Jason. I think I've seen you in the community a bit. I think it's awesome what you're doing. So a few ways that we kind of
the print cut off for everyone, not just me.
Yeah, print cut off.
Okay, that's a bit unfortunate. For anyone who missed it, I think he's going through some load shedding. So his connection is not the greatest. with regards to implementing like a subscription-based model for payments, that is possible currently using our product LinkPay, which allows you to link your bank account, tokenize it the same way you would a card. And I think we're all familiar with sort of card subscription-based models. So yes, that is possible. We have a debit order product coming out soon. Priyan has better timelines if you can get back online. And he's back.
I think I'm back, sorry. I have internet
Okay.
connection. Yeah, like Lev said, we are releasing a Debbie check product. So you'll be able to actually sign up for mandates through the API and subscribe users for like a set recurring subscription. And that is down a little bit further down the roadmap. It is in progress now on our side in development. We are trying to get it out before the end of the year, but it's most likely to be fully in full release and out of beta in early Q1 next year. But yeah, as Lebo said, right now there's the LinkPay product that you could use.
Yeah. Awesome. There's a second question here from Tumelo. Also looks kind of familiar. Can Stitch be used to develop a fintech app as a startup? Yes, definitely. I think like probably Toby, you could give better numbers here, but more than half of our current sort of client base are startups and fintech style apps. It obviously depends on your use case and how you want to use Stitch, whether it's for payments or just getting data. But yes, Stitch can be used to develop a fintech app. It'll be interesting if you have a follow-up to that, Tumelo. What type of fintech app are you trying to build?
Yeah, I was just about to like ask that as well, but it would be helpful if Tumelo gives context into the type of fintech app he's looking to build. But with Stitch today, we have like different fintechs using our APIs to build their products. There are companies like building crypto-related solutions. There are companies building savings and investment solutions. So like just different, even lending businesses as well, lending startups using our APIs as well. So our APIs are like useful to practically any company that is looking to accept payments online or speed up the process of onboarding users to their platform.
Yeah.
Nice.
Maybe I'll just add one thing to that, because I think it's something that I'm pretty passionate about. And this is kind of like why we started Stitch, right? In the first place is it was really hard. Like Kian, who's our CEO, and myself are trying to build like just a person-to-person peer-to-peer payments app where we just wanted to pay our buddies, you know, like have a fun experience at the dinner table, pay with a gift and just send some money and to each other. And it was really hard, right? We had to get like a card acquiring license or at least a banking partnership with a certain provider. We had to deal with, you know, like long cycles to get that, expensive costs with specifically card at the time. And it was just a tough journey. And we wanted to empower, you know, people that are like us, basically two people in the garage that are trying to just build something. So I definitely think that yes, Stitch is, you know, hopefully well positioned for anyone to build a startup. And if it's a fintech startup, yes, most definitely. And I think we're always looking to improve and make that easier. So always looking for feedback on that too.
Awesome. We have Grant Lintner. Hi, my name is Grant. My name is Grant from LeoPay. We are building a bulk payout platform for SMMEs. Can we use your API to build a balance sheet and budgeting app for our SMMEs? We're using the Peach payment platform for bulk payments. I think the short answer is yes, you can. So we can break that up into two parts. The first is about a balance sheet and budgeting app. Yes, so that was one, as Priyan sort of spoke to that just now, but one of our first products was data and offering data to clients via the API in an OAuth style manner. So very simple to use. So you can create budgeting apps. One of the first apps I developed using Stitch was a budgeting app. It's like the first sort of thing that comes to mind for my own personal use. So that's definitely possible. And then in terms of bulk payouts, and bulk payments, that is possible. Priyan, maybe you want to speak more about the payments side of that.
Sure. Yeah. So how we kind of do it today is you would chat to us, chat to our sales team as well. We'll open a float account essentially with you. It's a pretty standard method, this, and that float account is something you would top up. And then you use our API to issue those payout instructions. Today, we do it a single API call per a payout. So if you had a bulk, you would just put that into a set, iterate through your set, and issue the instructions for each one. We are releasing now the ability to submit a bulk payload that would be in JSON format. So you just submit like a structured list of all the people that you want to pay out. We would then give you individual notifications on, clearing and settlement, or if there's any errors within that. So, we trying to move away from, I think some of the complaints other people had is like, if one payment in the batch fails, then the whole batch needs to potentially be retried, or it gets a bit tricky to identify where in that batch, it failed. So we want to try and mitigate that as much as we can, which is why we went with the single payout flow at a time first. And now we're going to kind of leverage that to allow bulk payouts to be submitted. But yes, I think this is some of the core pieces of our payouts product today.
Nice. I think that's a pretty comprehensive answer.
Cool.
Thanks.
So just PS guys, if there's Levs, just like one thing, if there's things that we aren't touching on and anyone thinks we skipped over something or wants to dive deeper, please feel free to use the normal chat or re-ask a question. Happy to answer again.
Yeah,
cool.
that's actually a great reiteration there. Also feel free to raise your hand. Maybe you have a point related to the actual question that's being answered, and we can find a way to loop you in there. But thanks, Grant. Good answer. Masibonge, good day. Is there support team available to assist with integration? Because I had an issue getting access to my API key and trying to get my dev environment set up. So yes, there is. You can contact us through our help desk. You can find that at support.stitch.money, or you can email support@stitch.money. And that will also get you in touch with one of us. Alternatively, you can also use the community channel. We try to be as active as we can on that community channel, but there's obviously a lot of you and we've been growing quite fast. So there's a few growing pains there at the moment, but we are trying to go through the backlog of requests. That's sort of why we're having this AMA today, to reach out to you guys. So Masibonga, if you have any issues getting set up, I suggest you just DM myself or Priyan or Toby on that channel, and we can try and sort you out as soon as possible. As it comes to getting the API keys, you should be able to get them at stitch.money/get started. If you go to the stitch.money site, there is a get started button that's highlighted in purple. Click that, put in your details, and you should get sent your credentials, which consists of a client ID and a secret key. That should be enough to get you started, following the docs, obviously. But awesome. Next, we have Digeto Pala. Hello, guys. I see Stripe has a base URL to connect using Postman. How do we use Stitch endpoints events the same way? So our API does have a base URL. We actually only have one URL for our API, given that it's GraphQL. I cannot remember the URL off the top of my head at the moment, but it is in the docs in the second section under important URLs. There's one URL, and depending on the body of the request that you send to Stitch, that will determine the response or the type of request you're trying to make. So we have a base URL. I hope that answers that question. I may be misinterpreting that one, but I'm pretty sure we hit that one on the head. Awesome.
Maybe just to pop an extra one on their Levs, is that we are releasing, I think it's actually this, it's probably early tomorrow morning, but we are releasing our new docs, which comes with new Postman collections as well. You can actually go to the new docs version today. So if you go to stitch.money/docs-beta, I'll pop a link in the chat as well. That's what the new docs look like. Lots of new improvements there, improved search, light mode, dark mode. In a few days will be the new Postman collection, where you can see all those base URLs and play around.
Nice. personally excited for this start. I think it's like the culmination of your guys' feedback for the last like 6 months plus. So I think you guys are going to enjoy that. Awesome. We have Josi. Hi there. I'm Reggie, a developer from Tosa Exchange, a crypto exchange platform from South Africa. Our team wanted to integrate Stitch as a way for our users to make peer-to-peer payments for our peer-to-peer platform, and also be able to buy crypto and also sell crypto, with Stitch if possible. But we quickly noticed that some features are in early access. We tried reaching out, but does that come with any limitations? And when getting access, how long would that process get, or how long would that process take? So Reggie or Josi, that process is super quick. It's just a matter of turning on some feature flags on our side. We do need to hear your use case and your overall sort of flow, just to determine that you're not a bad actor, obviously, in the space. So like think of it as a mini KYB, know your business. Once we deem you, this is a legit use case, we will turn on those feature flags and you're able to get up and running. For all of our alpha and feature flagged products like this, beta products, they're actually all in production. And we have some pretty large clients using them all. So they're pretty safe to use, should I say. So just reach out and we can turn on those feature flags. I think after this, for the next few days, we're going to make a concerted effort to go through the community, answer your questions, and get you guys all set up. So that should answer that.
Lebs, I see there's a hand raised. Grant Vine. I'm just gonna.
Oh yes, yeah. Bring them in.
Let's try this out. Cool. Hey, Grant.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing very well.
Awesome.
So my question relates to two things. So the first is your Martian example online. You guys may want to have a look at that, because the current example doesn't facilitate the requirement that you have for a client secret. And that example hasn't been updated in a little while. And so if anybody wants to use that as an example, it doesn't actually work with the test keys that you provide at the moment. My second statement or question really is, do you guys have intentions of possibly releasing other example apps, maybe a Flutter example or .NET MAUI, just something that would actually help to guide how somebody would have an available integration? Or do you have plans maybe around a library, something along those lines? And I suppose the context for my question is, that's kind of where Stripe, as some of the guys mentioned, it really shines. I mean, getting going with Stripe is a 5-minute exercise in most frameworks.
Cool. Good question. I think what I'll do is I'll take the Martian Money one first. Is unfortunately no one's given that any love in the last about 1.5 to 2 years. I think it definitely needs some love. I think we were thinking of doing something new that includes payments as well, but I think you're not the first person actually in the last week to raise that. So definitely, I think we can update that, update the source code as well on GitHub if it's out there and people are finding it, for sure. On general boilerplate code as a whole, just for like general products, I think that's definitely on our roadmap. So we do have on our roadmap for DevX, like just as a standalone concept, is docs was our first thing. So that's what we're releasing this week, would be brand new developer docs. Then second on that is we're doing plugins. So for some of the top platforms, I think we've had a lot of demand for things like WooCommerce, Shopify, etc. And then next on that is SDKs. So we've already kind of done the scoping on that. I think what it looks like is we'll probably release Node SDKs first. Next would be probably Python and then .NET. And then maybe we'll dig into Java and a few of the other ones. But yeah, I think boilerplate code and those examples, and I'd love to hear from some of the wider community on what languages people would like to see, because this is definitely something we're starting to look at and prioritize now.
Yeah, just adding on to that hurdle that you mentioned, Grant. I think if anyone else is hitting that hurdle with the client secret, client assertion differences, you can just swap out client assertion with client secret. And that should solve the problem for that. It's a recent change that we've made to simplify the integration process, but there's still a few gaps that we're trying to plug. Just today we plugged the Postman collection as well, to be a bit updated. But that's great looking out, Grant. Thank you for that one.
Well, thanks, guys.
Cool.
Cool.
We've got Jason again regarding my question. If using LinkPay for the meantime, would the user transfer funds and then I would take funds monthly from the available balance, or am I misunderstanding something? So maybe we can actually bring him on. Pri, how did we do that? That was very cool.
I think it's by request. Only
Okay. Okay.
for people, but it's fine. I think we can take it from here. I just want to reread that with the user transfer funds, and then I would take the funds monthly from an available balance. I see. Okay. So what happens is obviously there's a variable amount available in a certain end user's bank account at any time, right? And with LinkPay, it's not like a mandate that's set. It's not a fixed amount at any time. So what essentially it is, it's just a link into that account. So it's saying that that user authorizes you to push funds out of their account into your account, right? And then you would take funds, let's say it's 100 Rand every month, you want to take that out. You would take that out if it's available in that account. So you would issue the instruction and say you want to receive that, you want to take that 100 Rand out at a given point in time. If there's available funds in that user's account, you would be able to immediately receive those funds. If there isn't, then our API would return an insufficient balance error. And obviously you'd need to retry at a later stage or re-engage with the user and communicate that they need to top up their account. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect example. Perfect. Let's see.
We have Tumelo.
Tumelo hand up. Okay. Hey Tumelo, how are you doing?
Oh, hello everyone.
Hey.
Hello. Oh, I hope you're doing good. Okay. I wanted to know if it is possible to use Stitch to link users' bank account from within my app, and when they have to pay, they can sort of choose from which of their accounts, from the bank accounts, do they want to pay from. For example, have that option of, do they want to pay from the savings or the check account, but like through my app?
Yes, yeah, that is perfectly possible. A lot of our first big sort of users of this product were apps. So you can think of, for example, the Chipper app, Chipper Cash app, Frank app, Imali Pay, which was actually via WhatsApp chatbot, which is really cool. So you can introduce this into any sort of environment, your app included. I'll leave a couple of links to those platforms.
Okay, thank you. I think that answers my question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Next question. Okay, we answered Jason's. Yeah, Tumelo. Can Stitch be used to develop a fintech app as a startup? Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong list of questions here. Yes. Anonymous attendee. What would the benefit of using Stitch be over using something like PayFast or Paystack on an e-commerce site? That's a good question.
I can take some of that. So like in terms of checkout, right, we're obviously very similar. I think we do have in some places, competitive pricing. We have an API that allows you to kind of open up other solutions down the line. So things like if you're using on an e-commerce checkout, it kind of depends on what that e-commerce checkout is. If it's a e-commerce checkout where, there's no anonymous checkout and you own the user, think of like an Amazon where you're forced to log in. You can do things like LinkPay, where you can access the user's identity, which means you can prevent things like fraud on that site, which you kind of can't do with a traditional instant EFT. You can also allow for tokenization of that instant EFT method versus, the traditional every single time you have to click, which kind of reduces the amount of clicks for a user to check out, i.e. like one-click checkouts. In places where there is anonymous checkouts, it is, technically kind of similar. The best part that I can see, and this is from, people that have actually swapped those out, not hitting on them. We work with a lot of these folks, is that they've seen conversion increases. They've seen like quite a significant amount of users that actually convert from their checkout page to actually completion. And I think that some of that boils down to, tech and, the way that we just build the product. So yeah, there's subtle differences in the anonymous checkout flows, but if you're looking at behind a login and for remembered users, there's quite a vast difference there of the one-click checkout, the being able to pull KYC data and prevent things like fraud. So yeah.
Awesome. Adam Pernon seems familiar as well. I might have seen this on the community channel. What's up, Adam from Kandua? I'm building rapid payments using disbursements for unlinked users. 1, I struggle to find the list of supported bank IDs to use in the create disbursement mutation. I found a list in a blog written by Level, but I am unsure if this list is the most up to date. Could you please confirm that list with me? Let's actually, I see you have 3 questions. So let's first answer that first one. You can find the list of bank IDs in our API reference docs. They're a little bit hard to find, but if you go, and this is going to become a lot easier tomorrow with the new docs, by the way, so super excited for that. But if you want to do this tonight, you can go to the docs or straight to the IDE at stitch.money/IDE. In the top right corner, you're going to see a little button that says API reference. If you click on that, it'll show you all the variables with definitions of those variables. You just need to look for the bank ID variable that you're looking for, and you should be able to figure out what's possible from there.
Lebs, maybe one other one is that I think people can actually look at it now, right? I'll drop that.
Oh yes,
I'll drop it in the chat now on the docs beta. So one, there's 2 parts to this, right? And one, you can obviously see it now. We've got like a lot better search where you can basically, what's happening is we introspect into our GraphQL schema, which means any of the enums that you need or can use, you can simply just type them in the search and you'll get a full list of them and definitions. But then on top of that, a piece that we're currently working on, and I see Stephen is in the chat, who is on my team and has actually picked up this task recently, is we're writing a post on how to use GraphQL, the power of GraphQL, to introspect on those programmatically. So what that means is you can make a simple REST call and provide the enum that you want to use, and via the API in an unauthenticated call, you can get a full list of these IDs, which means that you don't have to hard code the IDs. So if you have a drop down where the end user needs to select those banks, you would simply make this API call to us, providing that enum, in this case, the disbursement bank ID, and you could populate your drop down programmatically.
Nice. I love API driven UI. That's really cool. Super dynamic. Tumelo, I can see you have a hand up. I'm gonna allow you to talk. Hey, Tumelo.
Oh, hello. So recently what's happening is that more people are more, when it comes to fintech, if you send somebody money, they want to receive it now. So my question is more based on rapid payments. If I use Stitch for, as in my fintech for sending money, sort of like PayPal, so how long would it take? What is the duration of transactions?
Yeah, so I can take that one. So currently it's T+1 on instant EFT rails, right? Which is, if it's same bank to same bank, then it's instant then. If it's interbank, so from one bank to another bank, then it's T+1. So that's like, call it 1 to 2 business days. And that's the clearing time. What we do have in Instant Pay is smart routing. So we have a few solutions, right? The first one is on Instant Pay, we have a thing called smart routing, which means if you have bank accounts with all the banks, so let's say you take out, even if it's like a zero account with FNB, with Standard Bank, with Absa, etc., you can list all of those as beneficiaries. And what we'll do is we'll say, hey, your sender is paying from FNB. Let's use your FNB beneficiary that you provided. Thus, you'll get instant clearing. And that means you would collect that money and then you can unsettle to the user.
Oh, wow. That answers my question. So basically Stitch acts as a transfer, sort of a transfer company. That means I would have to have sort of have bank accounts for holding users deposits?
Yes. So there's two parts, right? If you're doing a P2P app and you don't, legally have the ability to hold those funds on behalf of the user for a certain amount of time, the other option is to put the end user, the P2 in that P2P situation, so the second person that would be receiving those funds, to put their bank account details directly, right? And then they would just receive the funds. So you wouldn't hold funds. So that's another option as well.
Oh, wonderful, sir. Thank you. That answered my whole questions. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, Tobias.
Nice, awesome. I see Adam's question, or Adam had a 3-part question. So we answered part 1. Part 2 was him asking to check out Zendesk because he popped us an email about getting early access to that. We can sort you out, Adam. We will sort you out after the call. And then he wanted to confirm if disbursements is available on production. It is available on production. I think probably our most famous user of that at the moment is Binance. Pri, do you want to, or Toby, highlight any other users we have using that in production? Clients.
There's Binance. There's a client called Tripco as well, in South Africa. So we have and these are heavy users that do thousands of disbursements on a daily basis. So the product is literally ready for production. And I think we would remove the early access tag sometime, real soon.
This is actually a good time to ask Priyan, is that removed in the doc update tomorrow? Or I know it's up for consideration. I would just be curious to know.
Yeah, no, that'll be coupled differently. Maybe just for everyone wondering what this whole early access story and why is that the case? How do products actually exit that? So we're quite strict on before we release products. We move quickly and we build quickly, which means there's new products kind of all the time. We have a bunch in the pipeline that'll be coming out soon, but we usually release them to a few power users that we know are going to run significant load and significant funds through and give quite critical and crucial feedback in a very quick period of time. We often select community members or smaller startups that are just will give very honest feedback sometimes, which is amazing. And then we kind of select them. They go into our closed beta loop of testers. We then run through a bunch of load. Once we're kind of happy that we see significant load, once we've fixed a lot of the early bugs and we feel like we're at a stable state, that's when we start removing the access and opening up to a wider group. That wider group usually consists of a mix of smaller and larger companies. And then once we're happy with that wider group, we just open it up totally to the public. And then with disbursements specifically, and any of the products where essentially Stitch has to open up a bank account on your behalf and we'll be aggregating funds for you. There, obviously, you need to kind of just chat to our sales team. More than happy to open up the testing access for Sandbox, but you should, if you are testing and you do, open up those test credentials and you feel like you want to launch very soon, I'd suggest just getting in touch with our sales team earlier, sooner rather than later, letting them know when you want to go live, just so that we can get that all in order for you, seeing that there is a bank involved, which does take a little bit of time to sort out. But yeah. Cool.
Fantastic. Open, let's see. Grant had a question. Grant Vine again. Do you have a mobile app example, including deep linking support, such as Flutter or MAUI or even React Native? I can answer that one. I'm actually a former iOS native engineer. We don't have an example for Stitch just yet. It's something that we've been exploring and constantly working on. I think there's just so many different examples of or project examples that we can make. So we try to cater to sort of the lowest common denominator or the greatest common denominator. You can use deep linking. With our redirects, you can use deep links and universal links, I think it's called, in Android and iOS, and Flutter, I suppose. So that is supported and possible. I wish there was a way we could actually have a poll of what language everyone's using. I think that would be very cool to see. To get a sense of it. I think in the chat, if you can just spam whatever language you guys are coding in and your stacks, that'll be really cool. Thank you, Grant.
Yeah, and just to your point, Grant, of just like I think that Flutter is on one of the top of those lists. We've seen quite a bit of need for that. And on the of deep linking, we do have quite a few folks that are live that have used Flutter and deep linking, not Maui just yet. I don't think we've seen anyone on that just yet. But if you are building in Flutter, please just shoot us and struggling with deep linking, especially, just shoot us a message. I think we've seen it before and more than happy to help there. Cool.
Yeah, we've seen some very interesting deep linking examples. I mentioned earlier a client of ours, ImaliPay, they deep link straight into the WhatsApp app, which is really cool. So you're talking through WhatsApp, you make a payment, and it'll deep link you straight back into the exact chat. So you can do some really cool stuff with deep linking. Andrew had a hand up. Hey, Andrew, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good.
Awesome.
Yes. I asked my question in the chat, but I'll ask it here right here. So we're building an app where we can let, say, it's like a family. You are the father of the house, and your son needs school fees or money for handouts, and maybe the wife needs to shop for the hair. So we're building an app that can allow users to kind of like link their bank accounts, but then let everyone in the family, as part of the features, let everyone in the family like request like a budget for something. So let's say, you need to make your hair, you need to buy handouts for school. So it's not like the major expenses. So wanted to see how Stitch could play in with regards to how we integrate maybe features like deep linking and link pay. Our development team has been looking into the API documentation, but some clarity from you guys would be super helpful. Thank you.
That's a really cool use case.
Yeah, that's super unique.
I like
That's
that
cool.
one. So if I can take that, what I'm picturing in my head is kind of, let's say, like you said, father of the house in that case would link their bank account with LinkPay, right? That means that, I'm assuming that you'd have, based on your logins and like user management segregations between your users. So one user could bring on their family members and have like kind of a shared profile, as it were. So that top member of the family would, or any member potentially, could link a bank account and maybe set spending limits once they've linked that bank account for the rest of the family. So in that use case, let's say the father links their bank account with Stitch. Let's say they link the F&B account and it's there as a method, right? And he would be, let's say, the admin of that account. And he would say that, his son has a weekly spending limit of 100. That obviously is governed by your app. We wouldn't hold any of that. But then the son at any time, within a period could say, hey, I want to take out, let's say 100 Rand off that 1,000 Rand. Maybe you have like a bar of how much is available. They click that, I want my 100 Rand. You would then use the token that's being, stored in your app against the father's profile and say, yes, that the son is part of that family. He has authority to take out up until a certain amount. 100 is less than 1,000. He can go for it. And then it's a simple API call, right, to disperse those funds to his account. In that scenario, there's also a world where you don't initiate the payment at the time and you rather disperse funds. So there's another mechanism you can use where you use our disbursements API to send out to multiple users. So one person could link to top up, let's say, your float account with Stitch, right? So you have a float account with Stitch and the main user just tops up, let's say they put in like 5,000 Rand to start, right? And then you would use our disbursements API to shoot that money to whoever needs it at that point in time. The kind of benefit of using disbursements for this is we do have the ability to go RTC for those disbursements, or real-time clearing. So if the son has a different bank account to the father, they would get, but they need that money instantly. We have a flag on disbursements where you can specify instant, and they would receive that money instantly. So that's another option. So a few ways, but that's a super cool app. And keen to hear more about it. Please shoot us a message on how you're progressing in the community.
Oh yes, we definitely will. Thank you.
Awesome. That's fantastic. That sounds really cool. Let's see, Anonymous asks, hi guys, will there ever be a REST API method to use Stitch payment like other payment gateways?
I saw that question and I smiled that this is a trick.
This is another me question. Yeah, sure. So I think we obviously get this a lot. I think GraphQL, especially in South African space, is quite new, quite novel. And yes, I think that the short answer is yes. We've seen enough demand to say that we will wrap our GraphQL API into like kind of a basic REST wrapper, which also means SDKs will likely come first, to be honest, before that. But just want to point out one thing, that today, GraphQL essentially is a call over REST. It's a post request submitted as a string. If you're using Postman, for example, you can actually see how you can export that as a basic REST call. So today, I'd say think of it as a structured query-based REST call, but I know that is kind of sometimes hard to build up. It's hard to work with. It means that, you often need to use a GraphQL client. And if you're, foreign to the language, it's quite a barrier to learn, although it is quite powerful and it has a lot of benefits. But to the same point, we will be, releasing a wrapper where you can submit straight up REST calls for sure.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something super important. If you guys are familiar with Postman, it makes it very obvious how those calls are being made and how they just like a layer on top of REST and not different to REST. So check out those Postman collections on the docs. Awesome. Anonymous attendee, another one. Do you think that Stitch would release an example repo or tutorial for a full integration? I find the documents are really good for the set specific tasks or use cases, but using the documentation for full use or using multiple features of Stitch together, such as verification, refunds, payments together, and figuring out how they all work together can be slightly confusing. So yeah, I think this was Priyan touched on this a little earlier, but we are exploring SDKs first, example projects, and the like. So I think an example project like Martian Money that's a bit more up to date, using all our newer sort of features, should make this a lot more easier to understand and comprehend. So we are looking forward to building that towards the end of this year.
Great. Let's Pri, I saw a question that I find interesting that I think we should look at. It's from Ruben, and he's a co-founder of a fintech called Oji. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So the question is about if LinkPay will be able to support payments to multiple beneficiaries. Today, through LinkPay, the payments all go to one beneficiary. And I think this use case is specified is for like peer-to-peer payments. So are we looking into that?
Yep, I can take that one on. So LinkPay today, yes, it's not currently geared for peer-to-peer in the sense that you would set that bank account, the in-bank account, and go directly. It's geared more for aggregation, right? And there's quite a few reasons why initially, like one of the first things I must mention about LinkPay is we do kind of have a gate now because it's tokenizing that account, and it means that somebody could just kind of continuously make that payment. That the first gate is that we require KYC of the users before they onboard to the platform, and then only you can actually retain those tokens. So that's kind of the first barrier. The second barrier, obviously, is that those authorized tokens are only authorized to a single beneficiary at a time because of the sensitive nature that with one click you can kind of transfer that money and potentially drain somebody's money out to multiple accounts. So there is a world where we potentially will open it up to multiple beneficiaries given the right multi-factor methods and additional security methods on top. What are those? We're looking at device fingerprinting. So we're actually going to move away in the near-term future from tokenization and having to retain and manage tokens, and we'll do device fingerprinting where you'd actually use biometrics. We would fingerprint the device, and a single authorized device would carry out the payments. So when that happens, we would potentially open up to multiple beneficiaries. But unfortunately for today, Instant Pay is the best solution for P2P, or the other option is to chat to Stitch, see, we can validate your use case, and potentially, if we're in the flow of funds for you and aggregating for you, you could use us as the central beneficiary. We have a TPPP license, which means we're legally allowed to aggregate funds, and then you could use us to disperse onto the next person. And obviously then you can achieve the instant nature as well. So yeah, if there is a burning need for that, just give us a shout.
Great.
Cool.
Thanks.
I want to highlight a question from Andrew. I see his questions in the chat. I just want to bring that up. And the question is, our team needs to confirm if Stitch can support the linking of balance accounts in a way that our users can use it for expense management. He's given an example workflow. We link add a bank account through Stitch and authorize a transfer limit of 100,000 Naira. Ada can now spend this amount without having to link her bank account again, but might need a code to verify transfers. If Ada wants to increase her limit, she would have to redo the process again. So this way, Ada can allocate a spend threshold for her family to use for expenses. Yes, this is very possible. I think the only limitation here is that we don't have LinkPay live in Nigeria, and I see you referencing Naira. I don't know, Priyan, if you have any comments on, or Toby, on LinkPay in Nigeria.
Yeah, I can take that one. So we've been in closed beta for a while. We are live with a few folks. That's where you might have seen it. And we're live with Instant Pay. LinkPay, we're kind of closed beta. There's a few folks that are using it right now, but I think we're not going to be taking on any new integrations in Nigeria just yet. I think we're rethinking our strategy there, how we actually offer payment methods, which banks we're supporting. I think we've learned a lot in a short time. So yeah, keep an eye out for any blog posts that are coming soon on that, as well as other geos and other methods that will be launching there. But yeah, right now for LinkPay in Nigeria, I would say it is closed for at least the next 2 to 4 months.
Yeah. Awesome. No hands there. I'm gonna mark that one as done. We have Shoki, who says, hi, we are building a bank-to-bank gateway to help businesses in a specific industry collect once-off and recurring payments. Does this require us to use both Instant Pay and LinkPay? Are we able to tokenize different merchants or businesses bank accounts, so our customers may be able to send a payment request and receive payments directly into their bank accounts without just having to hold the funds in escrow, as most gateways do? So yeah, I'm happy to take that one. For your use case, it sounds like you would want Instant Pay and LinkPay. You can actually get away with just using LinkPay. It would work the same. You would just initiate the payment with the user being present as a once-off. But you can actually use both, depending on it. It depends on your UI, really. And then your second question here was about being able to tokenize the business bank account. So your customers will be able to send payment requests and receive payments directly. Right, so you wouldn't actually have to even tokenize that business bank account. You would just need to create a payment request link that has the business beneficiary as that sets the beneficiary bank account as the business's bank account, and send that to the payers or the users. When they initiate the payment on their accounts, the money will go straight to the business accounts. And that can be set on a per payment level. It's not like you have to configure it once and then reconfigure and reconfigure. So yeah, Shoki, that's very possible. Your use case is possible with today's tech, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I just wanna hop on that one quickly, Les. There was, oh, I see it popped away, but we'll just take it quickly. So tokenizing, so from what I understand as well, it's like end users need to pay back the certain business, right? These businesses want to collect payments from their end users. So in that sense, yes, the end user, if they have a way to pay, if you have a login gated app for those end users for them to pay back, then yes, you could tokenize that account, keep the token for the user on that app that they would have, and then they could just pay back, either on a recurring basis or ad hoc to the business, and the business would receive that. They know you would not have to have us hold things in escrow. In that scenario, the user would have to just tokenize a single business account and then pay them back. You may have to segregate per business. If there is no login or way for that end consumer to have some sort of verification and hold those tokens, then I think Instant Pay is just the best one. We've seen a lot of use cases for collections, for repayments, a lot of this specific use case with Instant Pay. And just a note on Instant Pay is we've made a ton of improvements for remembering users when they do come back. So if they're using the same browser and device, we would have already remembered their details. They don't have to input their username and password again. We would have already added that beneficiary as well. So it's almost a one-click experience, but they do go through a UI versus no UI. Yeah. Sweet.
Nice, cool. We have a message from question from Terry Igaroro. Are there any differences between dev and live implementation? I'm struggling to go live, although the only thing we've done is swap the secret and client ID to live credential. So there is, for the most part, no difference. That's all you have to do, swap the client ID and secret. Depending on if you're using our refunds or disbursements product, there may be some slight configuration that we need to do on our side to just hook it up and make sure that you actually are set up correctly. Common reasons for not being able or common reasons for hitting hurdles with that transition are usually due to having the previous client secret or client assertion in memory or hard-coded somewhere in the code. So you just need to remember that the client ID and client secret pair need to match. It's like super common to find like an old client ID or something. So I think, Terry, if you're in the community channel, shoot through a DM. I could look at our logs and it'll actually tell me what's going on with your client. It's often something very simple that we can help identify for you. Grant, does that mean that your schema is available for client generation? I'm not entirely too sure I understand the question.
I can take that if I understand it.
Cool. Grant is willing to, he raised his hand as well.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, okay. Grant, the floor is yours. How are you doing?
Hi. Yeah, so basically, if your GraphQL scheme is available, I can use it to automatically generate clients for pretty much any language. Obviously, auth still has to be handled independently and passed into that client in some manner. But that's what I'm after, because I couldn't find your schema before. And I'll be honest, I really don't feel like mapping out all of your objects.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's exactly like I kind of love it when people use GraphQL client, like, and build and
use it the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I think Pre's breaking up. So if you're using a GraphQL client and you
generate their own types from it, I think we've seen it done only in a few. Yes.
Nice. Pre, you broke up a little bit. Do you want to just repeat some of what you said?
Cool. I think I'm back. Sorry. Yeah, I think that's the perfect use case. That's how it should be done. There is a public endpoint, no authentication needed. It's our API.GraphQL. I think it's api.stitch.money/GraphQL. And then you use the introspection as well, the introspection endpoint, which is standard amongst all GraphQL endpoints. Again, no auth, and you can build up your full types. You can build up your, all these enums we're chatting about. You can just, use that introspection. So
okay, cool. Yeah, sorry, my background's OData, so I was looking for a metadata endpoint. That's why you mentioned introspection. Now, so I'll look again.
Yeah.
Please put that in your docs, by the way, and maybe a link to like how to generate a client in Node using Apollo or something.
Yeah. That'll be
Definitely.
pretty cool. I think you're the second person ever to ask about that, introspecting and trying to generate objects and code and stuff.
If you're not a
but-
lazy developer, then yeah, you gotta find shortcuts, man.
That's true. That's true. There's a lot of objects and stuff floating around as well in our schema. So that makes sense. Perfect.
Love it. Lebs, I'm just conscious of time. I know we only have 5
Oh wow! Right. Okay.
minutes left. Can we
Okay,
maybe fire through with some of these? I think there's a few open ones, and then I think anyone else that has questions, like we're obviously always on the community, and like Lebs is always free. I'm just opening up his time, but please shoot him through. So anything that we don't cover today, yeah, please just reach out. More than happy to help.
Sure.
Sorry,
We can do a bit of a speed round. Pops wanted to ask if we're going to be doing these Q&As on rotation, weekly or bi-weekly. Yeah, so we're exploring this idea. This is the first of its kind. We want to keep doing this. We obviously want to be as in sync with you guys in the community channel. But we are exploring doing this bi-weekly or perhaps monthly. We'll definitely let you guys know. I think this is quite helpful. So that'll be awesome. Let's see what else we can get through real quick. How long does it take to get feedback from the sales team? We have been struggling to get a response from Stitch. Can you please share the contact details? Sure. So I think, of course, if you reach out at support@stitch.money or sales@stitch.money, they should be able to get to you fairly quickly. I'm not too sure where you've been trying to reach out. They don't hang around in the community channel that often. But if you reach out to one of those two emails, you should be able to get a response pretty quickly. Jason wanted to ask, thanks for the answers, makes all perfect sense. Another question I have is, with unlinked disbursements, Hybel has a backend built that allows multiple vendors to upload and handle their products / stores, etc. Same approach of Takealot. What is the price for an unlinked disbursement? Toby, maybe you can answer that one. And what is the benefit of using settlements instead of disbursements? Pri, maybe you can answer that one. So Toby, the first one, what is the price of an unlinked disbursement?
Yeah, so Jason, right now, we basically have like 2 pricing models at Stitch. There's like the scale pricing, and then there's the standard pricing. Right. If you have an idea of like what your volumes will look like, if it qualifies for our scale pricing, you get some discounts. But if it's the standard pricing, unlinked disbursements currently costs like 6 Rand per disbursement, and that's for SDB. That's like same day disbursements. So these are like the type of disbursements that when you issue, it gets to the destination account like the next day or by end of day. But if you want the instant disbursements, which arrive at like the destination accounts within an hour, the cost for that is 20 Rand per disbursement. But like I said, we can scale down those prices if your volumes match our scale pricing.
Nice. Pri, the second question is, what is the benefit of using settlements instead of disbursements?
Yeah, so if I understand what settlements means here, it's kind of like the standard payment products that we have, where you'd add them as beneficiary and then pay them. The one for, let's say, LinkPay, like we said, you can't really have, those multiple beneficiaries. So in that sense, you'd have to, your one token couldn't be linked to all of these vendors, and to pay them out, you'd have to link multiple tokens per vendor, which, could get tricky. Obviously you can do that, but it is a little bit more intensive. And then if you used Instant Pay, you'd have to physically, as a human, go into that UI and click pay. Right, disbursements is just fully automated, totally headless. There's no human interaction involved. There's no no multi-factor steps or anything. You can just kind of have this pooled account and pay it out. So I think for the most part, disbursements is the way to go when you're paying out vendors. That's exactly what people do, existing. Like we have one of the providers that we work with use that disbursement functionality to pay out, for example, Uber drivers when they're receiving their payouts for the day or the month. Then they just shoot out those disbursements to them, and you kind of don't need to worry about adding them as a beneficiary to your bank account and worrying about a bunch of other stuff within your bank. You can just load them up on our system and then shoot them off. And then equally, because it's unlinked and you maybe don't know who it is, you can bolt on AVS to verify that account holder details, because you often may not have that vendor in front of you. You could use the account verification service to check, does it actually exist? Can it receive money? And then obviously shoot out the disbursement programmatically. Sweet.
Nice. Those are two great answers. Those are lovely. It looks like we spot on for time. So thank you everybody for joining. I'm hoping that this will be recurring, and I'm pretty sure it will be. So I guess we'll see you next month. Shoot us emails at support@stitch.money, or reach out to us on the community. We're going to try and make a concerted effort to be a bit more active there for you guys over the coming week. We're also hiring really aggressively for great engineers. So I've been asked by one of our talent scouts, if you're looking for an engineering role and you think you've got what it takes, please sign up. We have all the information on our main website at stitch.money.com, or stitch.money, sorry. Yeah, that's it. Hope everyone has a pleasant Wednesday. Thank you.
Thanks for joining, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one. Cheerio.
Ciao.
Bye.